What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90, and today it is time once again for the Premier League predictions. I want to give a shout out to David Redgrift, who left his predictions on the previous video, as well as multiple other prediction videos. If you want to get featured in the next episode of the Premier League predictions, then drop your comments with your predictions down below with how you think the Week 30 games are going to pan out, and I'll pick one of you to feature in the next video. Now, before we do get into the Week 30 fixtures, let's take a little look back at Week 29. Now, it wasn't a great week, but it was better than the week before, so hopefully we can continue to build on this week. So kicking it off, we had Liverpool versus Bournemouth, and despite the 17-0 aggregate score to Liverpool across the previous 5 meetings between the two teams, I did say that I was confident that Bournemouth would score, and they did. I predicted a 4-1 win to Liverpool, and in the end it was just a subdued little 2-1. Liverpool doing the business as always. Next up, Arsenal versus West Ham. I predicted a 3-1 win to Arsenal, a high-scoring game. The lineups looked set out for that, but it ended up in a 1-0 win to Arsenal, so very, very close there. It then kind of goes downhill a little bit. Crystal Palace versus Watford. I said a 1-1 draw between the two teams, and Crystal Palace back-to-back wins in the Premier League thanks to Jordan Ayew. It was a 1-0 win to Crystal Palace, so I sort of got the right idea for how the game was going to go, just Watford didn't get the breakthrough. Next up, Sheffield United versus Norwich. I predicted a 2-1 win to Sheffield United, and it was actually just the 1-0 win to Sheffield United, so not too bad there. Southampton Newcastle had a bit of a blip here. I predicted Southampton to win 2-1, and perhaps had they not had a first half red card, that could have happened because Newcastle left it late and managed to get the 1-0 win. Wolves up against Brighton. I predicted a 2-0 win home, 2-0 home win to Wolves, I should say, and it should have been a routine win for Wolves, but when it's a team that's lower than them in the league, they really do struggle, when it ended up in a 0-0 draw. Burnley versus Tottenham. I was very, very close to going for a draw, but in the end I did just back Tottenham, and to be honest, I'm not even sure why. This week I'm going to say Tottenham will lose. I'm not going to trust Tottenham again, but I said it would be a 2-1 away win to Tottenham, and it ended in a 1-1 draw. Chelsea versus Everton. I correctly predicted there would be 4 goals in the game. However, I thought it would be split 2 between the two teams. It actually ended a 4-0 win to Chelsea. Everton looking very, very off the pace in that game. Really, really good victory for Frank Lampard and his team. The next up, Manchester derby, Man United, Man City. I predicted Man City would go to Old Trafford and win, as they often do. This is only the second time Pep's ever lost at Old Trafford in his managerial career, and I predicted a 2-1 win to Man City, and City didn't look that good, and Manchester United got a 2-0 win. They're on a fantastic run of form as well. And then Monday Night Football, Leicester versus Aston Villa. I predicted an easy 3-1 victory to Leicester, and it actually became a 4-0 victory. Wilfred Ndidi back in the midfield, running the show. It was a great result for Leicester, who look very much nailed on for a top 4 finish. Now, speaking of Leicester, let's go into Week 30. Kicking it off, we have Watford up against Leicester. Now, initially, I looked at this and thought 2-1 away win to Leicester. And then their performance against Aston Villa really backed that up. But then again, Leicester don't travel as well as they play at home, and Watford are a much, much stronger team at home. If you look at the recent results for Watford at home, it's actually pretty impressive how well they did. Obviously, the last time they played at home, they beat Liverpool 3-0. That was a resounding victory, but they've beat, I believe, Wolves at home as well. They play much, much better at home, so I'm going to back them to get something from this game. I think it's going to be high scoring because Watford do like to score goals again at the home ground, and Leicester, they looked really, really, really good against Aston Villa. So I was originally going to go for well, I said 2-1 Leicester win. That was when I first looked at it, and then before Leicester played Aston Villa, I thought Leicester aren't in great form, maybe I go for a 2-1 win to Watford, and then I decided on this prediction, and I think I'm going to stick with this because Leicester did impress me last night at the time of recording. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw between the two teams, which I suppose both teams would be relatively happy with, I guess. Kicking it off after that, we have Bournemouth up against Crystal Palace. Bournemouth given a good go against Liverpool, but ultimately getting nothing out of it in the end. And Crystal Palace, back-to-back wins. Again, I believe Jordan Ayew has, more so than any other player in the Premier League, scored the lone winning goal for his team. He is that player that just scores the differential goal. However, I'm going to go, I don't know if it's an upset or not, but I'm going to go for a Bournemouth home win here, because Crystal Palace, part of me just doesn't see them winning four games in a row. Bournemouth looked all right at Anfield, to be fair, and I think at home they do play a little bit better. And I think they have an okay record against Palace at home, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to go for Bournemouth to get a home win. I don't know how many times I predicted Bournemouth to win this season, but it can't be many. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Bournemouth. Now, the next game is Brighton up against Arsenal, and as an Arsenal fan, this fixture worries me. Yes, we got over the line at the Emirates against West Ham, as you'd expect, but Brighton, it seems to be a bit of a bogey team for Arsenal. They haven't played that well against them in recent times. I think the last time they met, Brighton might have won. There's a few draws thrown in here. Brighton, they're kind of a draw specialist, to be honest, and Arsenal, this season, they've drawn a lot of games as well. Can I see them going away to the Emirates Stadium and winning? Possibly, on a good day. If it clicks for Arsenal, Arsenal could win this game 3-0, but it's not going to happen in my opinion. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between Brighton and Arsenal, which wouldn't look great for Arsenal's top 4 hopes, but I'm hoping they can get the win regardless, but my head says 1-1. The next game, I think this is one of the easier ones to predict, as I'm sure you'd imagine. Manchester City up against Burnley. I'm pretty sure the last 2 times Burnley have travelled to the Etihad, it's been a 5-0 victory, and Burnley, while they were starting to look pretty decent a few weeks ago, now they're looking just kind of up and down, a little bit average. Manchester City, almost like a shadow of their former selves. They really do have the Champions League to focus on, and I think this will just be a routine win for them, but nothing too crazy. I'm going to go for a 3-0 win to Manchester City. I think the Champions League is where their focus lies. That and the FA Cup. And if they win the League Cup, the FA Cup, and the Champions League, you've got to say it's been a good season for them. Despite the massive disparity in quality in the Premier League between them and Liverpool, 3 trophies, that would be pretty damn good, to be honest. Next up, we have Newcastle up against Sheffield United. Newcastle, what a tough team to predict. Sheffield United, always solid, doing the business. They're looking very, very good in their league table position as well. If they can just keep ticking over, they could sneak into definitely Europa League positions for sure. And, you know, top 4 is not off the cards for Sheffield United, provide results go their way in other fixtures. I think Sheffield United have been solid all season. They do travel fairly well, but Newcastle at St James's Park, they are quite a tough team to break down and actually beat. I think it's going to be low scoring, and I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between the 2 teams here. I think Newcastle will be encouraged by their victory against Southampton as well, albeit coming later on in the game after about an hour playing against 10 men. They did the business. That's all you can ask of them. 1-1 draw between the 2 teams here. Now, the next game is Norwich up against Southampton. Southampton in the previous week, unfortunately, missing out on any points against Newcastle, and Norwich, unfortunately, missing out on points against Sheffield United. So the 2 teams you just spoke about beat the 2 teams we're speaking about now, and I think that it's going to be another draw. Believe it or not, I think if it was at St Mary's Stadium, I could see a 2 or 3-1, maybe 0 win to Southampton, but Southampton have been a bit up and down lately. Norwich, they haven't been great. Obviously, they're bottom of the league, but I just get a funny feeling that this week at Carrow Road, they're going to get something. So I'm going to go for a draw. 1 apiece, 1 point apiece, 1 goal apiece, 1-1 between the 2 teams. Now, the next game is Aston Villa up against Chelsea. Villa's performance Monday Night Football was not something to behold. It wasn't that great. They had a couple of chances very, very early on in the first 10 minutes that had they taken, the game might have maybe been a little bit less one-sided. I'm not going to say they could have got something. They lost 4-0, and defensively they were all over the place, and in the end they lacked that venom up front as well, wasting chances when they probably should have taken at least 1 or 2. And I think although they are at Villa Park and they are a stronger, better team at home, I think Chelsea, who have just come off of a 4-0 win against Carlo Ancelotti's Everton, will be able to win this comfortably enough. Chelsea, not traditionally, I suppose towards the start of the season, they performed much better away from home than they did at home, but Stamford Bridge is becoming more of a tough place to go for other Premier League teams. We don't need to talk about Bayern Munich, but I think Chelsea will get the business done here. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to the Blues. The next fixture is West Ham up against Wolves. Wolves, as I said, drawing last time against Brighton, a team lower than them. Not a great result for them, and West Ham missing out against Arsenal. Bernd Leno pulled off some good saves. Fabianski back in goal, I believe. I know he's been out for multiple parts of the season, but he is a good keeper for them. I do think Wolves are going to get the win here. I think they can't not get a win against Brighton and then go to West Ham and not get something. I do just think they're too good. I really rate Wolves. Maybe I overrate them. Maybe the hype of, Traore, it's really been his breakthrough season for Wolves. Maybe that's clouding my vision a little bit, and I do like Wolves. I enjoy watching Wolves. I remember Cavallero when he played for Wolves last season. He was one of my favourite players. I really liked him, and then now he's gone to Fulham, I believe. But I do think Wolves are going to get a win here because West Ham and Wolves both tend to play better against teams way, way above them. And so neither of them will almost have that advantage going into this game. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Wolves. Now, the next fixture is Tottenham up against Manchester United. And as I said earlier on, I'm not going to back Tottenham to win this one. They are they're struggling with injuries. Dele Alli's pretty much all they got. Bergwijn, a new addition to the injury list, along with Son, along with Kane, I assume they're all still injured. And I don't think the likes of Lucas Moura, although he has great moments, Champions League last year, of course, Eric Lamela, although they're decent players, I think when the responsibility lies solely on their shoulders, they are just off the pace, hence why they couldn't beat Burnley, hence why they lost to Wolves at home. I think they're going to lose to Manchester United, who are very much in the routine of winning. I think they're going to score a couple of goals. Tottenham might bag one, another second half goal, another penalty perhaps. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Manchester United. They're looking very, very good, and I think they have what it takes to beat Tottenham in what would be a very, very important victory for United for their hopes of getting into the Champions League next season through the Premier League route at least. And the final game, it is the Merseyside derby, Everton up against Liverpool. Liverpool back to winning ways against Bournemouth, and Everton getting absolutely stomped by Chelsea at Stamford Bridge makes for a pretty grim viewing for many Everton fans, I'm sure, and I think Liverpool will actually win this game. At the moment, it's unsure as to whether or not Liverpool can win the league here, because Manchester City are still yet to play Arsenal and Burnley before this fixture takes place. If Man City lose to Arsenal and Burnley, I'm pretty sure Liverpool already have won the league before this game kicks off, and then Everton have to do the guard of honour, right? Is that what they have to do? So that would be funny. Either way, depending on how City's results go, it's quite likely that this could prove a pivotal game for the season in terms of mathematically winning the league, and I do think Liverpool are going to get the job done. I think it's going to be low scoring. I'm going to go for a 2-0 away win to Liverpool. So that is going to do it for my Week 30 predictions. If you did enjoy it, please do smash a like on it. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss a future video, because as I said, there's Premier League all over the channel, Europa League, Champions League, FA Cup, all that stuff, and then Euros in the summer, provided that all still goes ahead. So yes, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video very soon.